As much as I like both these IEMs, there are a few things that set them apart, especially on a sound front. But before I jump into how they sound, let's jump quickly into how these are built. These IEMs might sit in the same price range, but their build and design do have their own differences. The Tangzu does have a gorgeous design and color on its faceplate, and the gold gets highlighted when looked at the right angles. This is a high quality plastic finish which does look like a resin finish. The FiiO, on the other hand, comes with a metal faceplate and has a more executive look to it. The housing is see-through, much like the Tangzu, and both of these come with 0.78 mm connectors on the IEMs and have a 3.5 mm termination on the other end of their cables to connect to your DAC, amp or devices. The cable quality on both is good, with the Tangzu having a more rubber feeling cable which is grippy, while the FiiO has a harder plastic finish. The Tangzu comes with a 3.5 mm termination, but the FiiO does have a USB Type-C option you can pick up when it is available, of course. Both these IEMs cables also feature a small control pod. The Tangzu has one button which will let you play and pause your music, provided you connect directly to a device or your DAC amp has pass-through, and the FiiO has a play and pause button along with a volume up and down button. The USB-C variant will let you toggle between 5 different tunings when the volume buttons are pressed and held, which is a neat feature. And these control pods also have microphones. So you can take calls directly on these IEMs, provided of course they are connected directly to your phone, or if you have a dongle DAC that has pass-through. Now I am using the DD Hi-Fi high-res DAC. This does have a pass-through in it, and it will pick up this microphone because I've plugged it into this. Now I will be plugging into my phone right now. You've been listening to me from my phone's microphone, and I'll plug into the phone right now, and it should hand over to the FiiO recording audio through headset. Yeah, so right now it'll be playing through the microphone over here, and quite obviously if the microphone is further down, I mean my tonal quality will be different compared to if I do hold it closer to my mouth over here. Now, of course, these IEMs don't have any ENC and all this, nothing electronic, but I have found these to perform fairly well. In fact, I found the FiiO and Tangzu to be one of the better sounding ones, apart from the Truth. Hola was also quite good. But there you have it. This is pretty much the way the FiiO will sound. And I'll shift over to the Tangzu in real time. Let me not edit this because I just want to show you how it's going to manage. And I think the unplug will be a little uncomfortable for you guys, but I'm just putting on the Tangzu with the FiiO on my arm. Hang on. And so yeah, there you have it. This is the FiiO microphone that I'm holding right about here. This is the FiiO, and I'll unplug the FiiO and go to the Tangzu now. So I'm on the Tangzu microphone right now. As you can see, the FiiO is unplugged, and this is pretty much the overall tonal quality you can expect from the Tangzu. Now, of course, this also does have its microphone lower down, and if I do hold this higher up, my tonal quality, volume, all that sort of stuff will change. So if you're gaming, if you're taking a call, this variation will make a difference. If you are in a busy setting, these microphones will pick up the noise around you because they don't have environmental noise cancelling, purely because there's no electronics in it. But this is pretty much how they'll sound to you, and I hope that this demo has given you a better understanding about these IEMs, and I'll see you in the chapter about sound. Both these IEMs come with 10 mm dynamic drivers. The Tangzu has a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz, whereas the FiiO has a frequency response of 20 Hz all the way up to 40,000 Hz. Both of these are fairly easy to drive because the Tangzu sits at about 20 ohms and the FiiO sits at about 24 ohms. So they're very easy to drive. And when it comes to the overall volume, I found myself listening to these at around 25%. They're very comfortable to listen to at around that percent. Maybe 30 will open them up a little bit more, but they do get a little too loud for me at about 35% volume. So I wouldn't recommend listening to these at about 40% or over that over prolonged periods of time if you intend on preserving your hearing. When it comes to a soundstage, both these IEMs do perform very similarly. This stage does exist within a bubble in your head. There is good left and right separation with a dead center phantom channel as well. Now, when it comes to the overall expanse of some tones coming from further out of the IEMs, this does happen very rarely with both IEMs, but the FiiO does tend to do it a little more often than the Tangzu. It does have a little frequency ranges that are tweaked a bit in the higher frequencies that do give the illusion of more space, which leads me to believe that this will be much more fun to use for gaming, especially because a lot of people do want to hear certain footsteps coming and approaching them. I'd say the FiiO is tuned better for that purpose. When it comes to its imaging, I've always really liked how the Tangzu does this because it's been a lot softer in its approach. In fact, a lot of new manufacturers are tweaking the high frequencies to give the illusion of better imaging, and that's exactly what FiiO has done with the JD1. They do try and give you more of a sense of crisper imaging, but it's just a tweak in the high frequencies. I wouldn't say it's sharper with its imaging. They're more or less at par if you're talking about specific imaging in particular and not tweaks in the highs. But I still do lean more towards the Tangzu because it does it in a more supple manner. It's not trying to offend you in any way. So the tuning that the FiiO has, I'd say, in that range to give you that illusion will not keep high frequency sensitive people very happy. If you are sensitive to high frequencies, that tweak in particular initially might make you think that, hey, okay, fine, this is giving me a little more detail than the Tangzu, but in reality, I'll give you 25-30 minutes until your ears start feeling really fatigued. If you're not high frequency sensitive, the FiiO is just fine, but I am leaning more towards the Tangzu. When it comes to its high frequencies, it's very obvious that the FiiO is a lot more tweaked than the Tangzu here. The Tangzu handles this range in a more natural approach and almost wants you to listen to it for prolonged periods of time. Cymbals and percussive instruments in this range are soft on the ear without being offensive, and despite not being elevated as much as the FiiO, managed to give you a crispness in detail here that's just right. The FiiO, on the other hand, is a little too enthusiastic here. I haven't been able to sit and absorb music with these for more than 45 minutes because of how bright these are. This range does have a few peaks that have caused me some discomfort during my original review of them, and the Tangzu compared to this only points those peaks out all the more. Listening to Def Leppard perform Hysteria, this track does have a lot of energy in this upper range, and boy can this be a tedious listen on the FiiOs. I don't think it needed this much of a tweak in the highs, but it seems that a lot of new IEMs do have this tweak to give the illusion of a sharper image. This won't appeal to the more seasoned listeners. Moving on to the Tangzus with this track was a pleasant shift. These do handle this range in a supple and warmer approach, making this track that much easier to listen to and enjoy, since the highs aren't anywhere as forward sounding as the FiiO. These two IEMs are different performers in the mid frequencies, and I very clearly have my favorite here. If you're into more rounded mids for male and female vocals, the Tangzu does present a fuller voice to you with more depth than the FiiO does. The Tangzu does manage to have good instrument and vocal separation here, but if you're listening to a vocal backed with a choir, it does a good job of segregating them. The FiiO does have a thinner approach towards this range and can tend to lean towards being sibilant compared to the Tangzu. It has good separation with vocals and instruments, but when there's a backing track with the vocal track, it's not as well separated like the Tangzu, but it does get close. I do wish the FiiO were fuller sounding in the lower mids, but then again, the Tangzu does that just right. Listening to Kian Ducrot perform I'll Be Waiting, the choir version, his voice sounds fuller and better weighted with the Tangzu while holding its own stance even while the choir is backing him up, and the upper mids don't come at you aggressively like the FiiO tends to do. The FiiO sounds like it's an enthusiastic intern in this range with this track. It wants to keep you happy at all costs, not realizing that it's overdoing what it's doing. It's almost like it wants to be liked, but the Tangzu does handle this range like a seasoned set of IEMs in comparison. When it comes to their low frequencies, these are surprisingly similar with a few subtle differences. The Tangzu does have a little more energy in the sub-bass region with some bass heavy tracks, provided the track has sub-low registers, and it handles it with an effortlessness I thought they couldn't until I revisited them in a more recent review. Upper and mid bass doesn't have as much of a kick than the sub bass region, which does ensure the mids and details don't get drowned out when these drivers have to handle lower frequencies. The FiiO, on the other hand, does have a little more kick than the Tangzu in the upper and mid bass, so things like kick drums and bass guitars have more presence when listening to these instruments. Its sub bass is no slouch at all and is almost at par with the Tangzu, but I do prefer how these handle their upper and mid bass. But again, these do have a slightly more in-your-face, over-enthusiastic intern vibe in this range, which I'm not a fan of. I do like how the Tangzu is a more mature-sounding IEM. Listening to Justin Timberlake perform Say Something featuring Chris Stapleton, the sub-low registers have no issue coming at you with either IEM, but their main difference is in the upper and mid bass. The FiiO is certainly more forward in that range, which a lot of people will prefer. It's more excited to push those frequencies out to you, but I do like the sense of decorum that Tangzu presents this range with. It does give off a better postured sound and feel. So to sum up, overall on a build front, I think both of these are put together very well. Now the Tangzu does have that kind of hard plastic or resin sort of face over it, that does protect and cover that gold work on the underside of it. It is a very pretty looking IEM, especially if you like to look at the intricate details under a certain kind of light. It's beautifully done. But I do sense that it can pick up scratches over time unless you do keep it in some sort of case. The FiiO, on the other hand, does have that metallic finish. It does look a lot more executive. I think if you plan on wearing this for commutes or for using at work, it's not going to pull many eyes toward you. If you want people to observe and see what you're listening to, wear the Tangzus. If not, wear the FiiOs. Both of them do have nice cables, but I have felt if I'm wearing sort of a collared shirt or some sort of a collared t-shirt, the Tangzu cable, that is a bit grippy. If I move my neck and the cable moves against that, I can get the sound or the vibration through the IEM. Whereas the FiiO, since it's a harder material, it slides over those collars, so it doesn't create that same sound. So that's one thing to keep in mind, of course. And of course, both of these do come with the 3.5 mm termination, but it's only the FiiO that has that USB-C sort of option. If you do want to get one of those, I think it does go out of stock very quickly, so you'll have to keep an eye on that. Then these IEMs do also feature microphones. So I have tested a few IEMs with microphones in the past, but I think these two actually are two of the better sounding IEMs that I have heard. They are pretty good performers, and honestly, if you want to hear how it sounds, jump on over to the call chapter. I have provided a quick demo to show you how both of these microphones do manage, and you'd be the best judge to see how they do sound to a recipient. But moving on to the sound, I think both of these are good fun to listen to. I mean, they have their own characteristics, their own flavors, so to say, and they do not get bloated in the bass. In fact, if you're used to listening to a lot of TWS earphones that are heavy in the bass and you are getting headaches because of heavy bass, these are not going to do that to you. IEMs are a lot better controlled, they're better structured, they are tighter in the bass, they're not just overly done, because their main focus is to give you a lot of detail. So that's one thing that I do like with both of these. Now, when it comes to the FiiO, I do like the FiiO. I have always liked it, but I think it took this testing of this A/B testing for me to realize between the Tangzu and this that the FiiO is a little brighter, or should I say considerably brighter than the Tangzu, because when I did first test the FiiO, I really did like it. I still do, but it is a little too bright for me. It is a bit fatiguing if you listen to it for too long, at least in my case. Whereas the Tangzu is very smooth, soft and easy in the highs. But both are, I'd say, good performers when it comes to the bass. The mid-range, again, I'm leaning more towards the Tangzu. It's very smooth in the mids. It's more rounded than the FiiO. So for my personal preference, I really do prefer the Tangzu. But I think a lot of gamers who are out there, I have had a few people questioning whether the Tangzu is good enough for gaming. You know, compared to the FiiO, no, it's not. Independently, I would have said, yeah, you know, it works. But when I've done this A/B testing, the FiiO does have certain accentuations in the highs where if you're doing kind of FPS gaming and you want more spatial awareness, because of how it's tuned, it can give you the sense of giving you more space, for one. And two is you will hear approaching footsteps because they've tweaked that frequency range. So somebody walking on sand or dried leaves or something like that will come through much better with the FiiO than the Tangzu. So anyway, yeah, they do have their subtle differences, and their differences make them their own kind of IEM and own kind of character, which is why I always say all the IEMs in this range are pretty good in this price range. It's just that all of them have their own flavors, so to say. So it's up to you to see what kind of flavor you like and you'd like to listen to music or game or watch movies with, and decide which one is for you. So there you have it. I've broken it down. So let's move on to the price. So at the time of recording this video, the Tangzu does have a maximum retail price of about 2,299 rupees, but it is being sold at 1,890 rupees. This is specifically the blue variant. And there is, when it comes to the FiiO, it does have a maximum retail price of about 1,999 rupees, but it does have a selling price of about 1,499 rupees, which is obviously the more affordable of the two. Now, are these value for money? I'd say yes. I mean, at this price range, I mean, it's first of all crazy that these even exist in this price range. The fact that you can get this much detail, this much nuance, this much stage, imaging, you know, the fact that you can even appreciate the finer details in your music or your movie watching and gaming is quite unbelievable. And of course, I have paired these with the iFi Go Link dongle DAC. I'll leave the link down below if you want to pick up that as well. And they're good fun performers, they're great performers. And I'd say just based on what you like, based on the kind of tuning you like, the way I've described it, I think you can lean towards whichever one you want. And I hope that these are in stock, because I think the FiiO has been just really being cleared out of stock very quickly. So anyway, there you have it. That's my comparison between the Tangzu and FiiO. And I do hope that you found this video helpful and informative, and I hope that I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. If you would like to help support the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.